Hi, and welcome back to Leslie's Lab. In this episode we're going to take a look at a modern computer-controlled fiber-coupled nitrogen laser. It's a really interesting piece of technology, so let's stick this on the bench and take a look. This is the Lasertechnik MNL-100 Nitrogen Laser that I picked up off eBay. We take a quick look at the warning label on top there. It says the peak power is 100 kilowatts. I can tell you from looking up the specifications of this particular version of this particular laser, it's more like 51 kilowatts at 150 microjoules. But these warning labels always err on the side of caution. This is a really modern nitrogen laser design. If we tilt it up so that we can see, we've got a few holes down the side here. These are actually fiber optic couplings. The top two are for RS-232, so we've got like transmit and receive over fiber optic. We've got a fiber optic external trigger. We've got a optional trigger in, and then we've got a USB socket. It's an old style USB socket that says remote on it. When you look up in the manual for these are actually supposed to be an interlock key. I'm very certain that these things are very expensive to get from Lasertechnik, so we'll figure out some ways around that. As for the rest of it, I'll just rotate it real quick. We've got two fans on the front, so this is an air-cooled unit, and on top of that we've got quartz fiber optic coupling for our output, which is really cool. We should be able to like mount this off the bench and then run the fiber to the dye laser. I suppose at this stage the thing to do before we get into it, before we get into talking about like how to power this stuff up, we'll pop the cover on this thing and take a look inside. It's actually really interesting to see. So I have the back cover off here. Handily, this thing comes with a little diagram of all the connections on the back plate. So we'll just go through these real quick. We've got a couple of stepper motor connections down here. The head has stepper motors in it, and we'll see why shortly. There is a shutter, which is actually disconnected in this version of the nitrogen laser, and then with various other bits and pieces down the bottom relating to the power supply and interlock and so on. The whole thing is actually driven by a PIC microcontroller, which is in the middle of the board there. There's a couple of LEDs that we'll probably see light up later on. This one is like everything's okay or the system's booted, and the other one comes on in case there's an error condition. And then on the right hand side we've got our simplex fiber optic connectors for our fiber optic serial. When I first popped the cover off on this, I did think about just tapping directly into the PIC microcontroller serial lines, because this thing didn't come with the serial cables, fiber optic serial cables. So I was thinking of picking off like TX and RX off of the PIC, but as you'll see later on, I've actually designed my own interface to connect to this thing, which was an easy job, you know, a couple of minutes, some components out, the parts bin. Let's pop the main cover off of this thing and take a look at the real guts of it. So I finally got most of the case screws out. They're all miniature Torex machine screws, and there's a lot of them, so I didn't see the point of videoing it. But the last two on the front here is where the money shot will be. This is where, if we're not careful, everything will fall to bits. Still got a couple of turns to go there. So we need to unplug the fan cable from the back and just slide this down. We can see the fiber optic coupling to the front of the head there, so I'll just remove that. It's only a little screw fitting. And there's the end of our fiber optic cable. If you look very closely, you'll probably not be able to see on camera, but trust me, if you get your eyeball right up against this, there's a tiny little spherical quartz lens in there that focuses the output onto the end of the fiber. So I'll just set this off to one side and we'll get the cover off. So just before we get into this, I just want to replace a screw real quick, because I'd like to be able to power this thing up with the cover off. And the reason is, if I turn this around, so there's all these tiny machine screws that I talked about earlier on, and most of those screws are very small screws. One of the screws is a particularly long screw, and this particular screw, when you screw it back in its hole, when you screw it all the way in, it goes click. So I assume there's an interlock in the bottom of there to prevent people from being able to run the nitrogen laser with the cover off. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that, but it just went click. So let's take a look and see what we have here. This is really interesting, it has to be said. We'll sort of go all the way around this thing. We've got a high voltage power supply on this side. Well, we've actually got a pair of high voltage power supplies. So there's our main high voltage power supply for our capacitors up the top there, and then we've got another high voltage power supply that supplies 2 wires that run the length of the inside of the laser tube that we'll take a look at in a minute, and they pre-ionize the laser tube ready for firing. A really interesting thing about this, I was surprised to see it when I opened it up, is this structure. It's all filled with some kind of white potting compound, and there is a large structure in the middle which looks suspiciously like a gate drive transformer. This doesn't use a spark gap or a thyratron to initiate the laser discharge. It actually uses a collection of solid state switches. They could be MOSFETs, or they could be insulated gate bipolar transistors, not entirely sure, and unfortunately the whole thing is potted. So the only way I can actually find out for sure what is in this mysterious structure is to destructively pull it apart, and I've not really much intention of doing that. These lasers, and this one is in working condition, when you buy them new, it's like 30 grand. So this is not going to be a destructive teardown at all. It's just a little look-see and see what's on the inside. So we'll spin this thing around, try not to disturb anything. We'll prop it up at the front there. So this is the business end. This is actually a mirror mount. As we'll see shortly, it's an external mirror tube, and on the front we've got our fibre optic coupling. Again, I've not really much intention of pulling this apart, because we'll probably never get it back together again, or at least we'll spend a very long time trying to get it back together in a reasonable fashion. I'll just tip this sideways. You'll have noticed in the shop previously there is a stepper motor here, and this stepper motor drives a variable attenuator. So this is a quartz glass attenuator. I'll just touch it by the edge and rotate it, and the idea is that we can actually vary the output within limits using the attenuator. So the attenuator sits between the output coupler and the laser tube itself. The laser tube itself is a luminous ceramic laser tube. Actually the discharge is transverse, but it's actually mounted vertically, which is kind of odd. Again, these are all external optics, so we'll have quartz glass windows at each end as well. We've got our 2 high voltage capacitors up the top there, and there's really probably not much else to see on the side. It says the maximum voltage is 12 kilovolts. That's about it. That's all that there is to it. It has to be said, I mean, this is an amazing piece of engineering, you know, like the time and effort and design that must have gone into this is absolutely astounding. I think there's a patent on this as well. If I can dig it out, I'll maybe link it in down below. Anyway, let's pop the cover back on this thing. I'll pop the cover on it and we'll power it up. So I've got this thing buttoned back up now and actually powered up, but before we can do anything with it, we need to hook it up to the computer. As I said previously, this thing expects RS-232 over optical interface, and if we actually tilt up the case, you might be able to see the light out of the very top hole there for the TX from the laser. In order to do this, I mean, you can buy interfaces for these, but honestly, if the laser costs 30 grand, I'm sure if I was to try and buy a brand new interface for this, that would probably be like a grand just for something that's just cheap. So I've actually put this together. This is my little hack. I've got one of these standard USB to serial TTL converters, and I've got a little circuit board here with some bits and pieces on. I've got an LED down at the bottom connected to the TX line of our USB dongle here, and then I've got a fast photo diode for the RX, and I've just coupled these into simplex fibre optic, you know, plastic fibre optic cables. If you want the diagram for this, I've actually just taken the time a couple of minutes ago just to draw this out real quick so we can see what's happening. This is our TX. It's just a 330 ohm resistor in series with a hyper bright red LED. That's it. For the receive side, it's slightly more complicated, but not really much so. We've got a super fast photodiode here. This was an SFH 2302. I happen to have it in the parts bin. A couple of 10k resistors, 2N3904 I think, and then a little inverter 74HCT04 just to invert our signal. So that's it. Nothing else to it. There's nothing greatly complicated. When I tested this, it had run at about 115-200, which is plenty fast. I think it's only 9600 baud for this thing. So let's hook this up to the laptop and take a look at the control software. So I've hooked the laptop up to the laser using my hacked up fibre optic RS-232 connection. So let's fire this up and take a look. So this is the marathon control software that you can get off the manufacturer's websites. There's a number of things that we can do in here. We can switch the laser on into standby first of all, and you might be able to hear some clicking in the background as the pre-ionizers start up. We've got another number of options in here. The attenuator that we saw, you know, the quartz disc attenuator, we can actually turn that up and down from in here and adjust the output energy. If we want, with a couple of ways of firing this up, we can have burst mode, which will give us a burst of however many pulses we set in the repetition rate. So we've set like 1 Hertz, 10 pulses, so burst would give us 10 pulses and then stop. We've got external triggering, which allows us to feed optical trigger in, and then we've got our inbuilt repetition. So at the moment we're set to 1 Hertz, so if we just hit repetition on, you might be able to hear the laser clicking away. If I grab the fibre optic output, yeah, so we're pulsing away at 1 Hertz at the moment, and if I put a white piece of paper in front of our fibre optic output, we can see our beam there. Let's go ahead and turn it up to the maximum. This will support running up to 24 Hertz, so we'll do that. So now we've got 24 Hertz output, 51 kilowatts, ultraviolet, really nice. You can see that the beam diverges quite a lot. So I've got the fibre held maybe 6 inches away from the paper now. So yeah, depending on the model of nitrogen laser that you get, you can actually tune the high voltage from minimum to maximum. Currently this is set to 15%. It looks like we can't actually alter it, but if you go into the calibration section, we can actually set the high voltage to 100% and then power it on. So there's our output, and according to the inbuilt energy meter, we're doing 95 point odd microjoules, which is not bad. I mean, the laser's done like 6 million shots or so, possibly more. I don't know how big the buffer is in these things, but yeah, pretty cool. So we ought to be able to drive a dye laser at some decent repetition rate with this. So as we saw previously, the output from the end of the fibre diverges quite significantly. I'm not likely to be able to pump a dye laser like this. I mean, it will cause the dye to fluoresce, but you can see we've got a very, very large spot on the surface of the cuvette there, and that's not going to drive it to threshold at all. So what I've done here, I'll just stop the laser a second. What I've done here is, once again with the tiny little laser diode mounts that I'm very, very fond of, I've actually drilled out the back of the mount, drilled out an RP, I think it's an SMA connector, because it happens to be the correct thread for this, bolted it into the back of our mount, and replaced the original plastic lens with a glass lens. It's not perfect, it's not BK7, it actually fluoresces quite brightly and steals maybe 1/4 of the energy, but for this demonstration it's fine. I've actually got some BK7 optics on order. So we can adjust the focus of this thing, so we can screw this in and out. If I connect this up real quick, and fire up the laser again, now we've got a much tighter spot at a much longer distance. So we've roughly collimated the beam there. It should be enough, I suspect, even at this. I'll turn the repetition way up to give us a hand. Let's set it back to 24 Hertz. We should be able to point it at the dye laser there, and right away, without even trying, you should be able to see on the paper there that we've got our dye laser output. Awesome. And that's just holding the fibre in my hand basically and pointing it at the laser assembly. That's excellent. Let's try that with rhodamine. We will have to tune it, I suspect. Let's just guess. Ooh, a good guess. I wasn't so far off there. So here we're lasering rhodamine 6G using the nitrogen laser, and again I'm just basically pointing this through the cylindrical lens to focus it on the surface of the die, and we're lasering right away. So there's plenty of energy available for this. This isn't even optimal. I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but I'm barely illuminating 50% of the die surface. So I need some additional optics really to shape the beam into something a little bit more suitable for pumping this die laser. Thanks for watching this episode of Les's Lab. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.